Morning. Another day out here just a-working. Now here's gonna be my little story about how I built up my credit and how you could possibly do the same. Now I don't know much, this is all from a guy that doesn't know much of anything about financial stuff. Now, I'm not some person that went and took classes on how to do stuff or went to seminars for investing and all this different stuff. I'm just a guy that started out with no credit, because everything that I had in my life I paid cash for, which is good because then you don't owe anybody money. But the bad part is when you do that, you have no credit to get stuff later on when it's more expensive. Just like when I was, all the vehicles that I've owned in my life, I paid cash for. I'd walk into somewhere, or I'd get a hold of somebody, and I'd say, all right, what's the price on that truck over there? They told me $3,200. So I said, okay. And I sat down $3,200 in the form of a stack of $20 bills. Because that's just the way I knew how to do things. I didn't have credit cards. I didn't have a debit card. I just saved my money up for when I needed something. And later on, when it came along to where I wanted to buy a house or I needed a different vehicle and I didn't have the money saved up for it, I had to finance it. So I went into this little dealership down the road and I found a truck that I liked. It was about $4,000. And I talked them down on the price. Then I said, I'm going to need to finance this. And they did a little credit check and whatnot. And they found out I didn't have bad credit. I just had no credit, which I've heard people say is worse than having bad credit. And it became quite hard to finance things after that. So I started asking around, and I had a buddy who had gone through some hard times financially, and his credit was kind of shot, but he was building it back up. And so I started asking him, if he knew anything about it, and he told me to do this right here, and that will build your credit. So what I did is at one point I had applied for a Cabela's credit card, and they denied me because I had no credit or nowhere to really start with. So what he told me to do was in those, just all that crap mail that you get, the credit card offers and all you get in the mail that you just throw right away, he said, go apply for one of those. And so the very next one that came in the mail, I opened it up and I started looking at it, and they said, okay, you'll be qualified no matter what for a credit card. Just worst case scenario, you'll get a $300 limit. But no matter what, you'll be approved. So I sent in the application, and they sent me back an approval with the card and an account and all. And I had a $300 limit because I had nothing for them to really be able to gauge my spending habits or my responsibility with my money. So I had a $300 limit. And what I did was I used that $300 limit for gas in my truck only, because I knew that I was going to need gas in my truck, and I knew that I would have the money set aside for it already. So it wasn't one of those deals where I swipe the card and okay, I can pay it off later. No, it was money that was set aside for gas already, cash. And I put the gas on the card, and then I would go home, and once it posted, I would pay it off. Sorry about all the weird angles going down the road. So I would put the gas on the card, and then once it posted, I would pay it off. I would pay the bill immediately. But one of the tricks that he told me, he said, when you pay off your bill, your credit card bill, pay it off up to $1. I said, well, why wouldn't I pay off the entire bill? That way it's done. He said, well, if you pay it off, he said, say you buy $30 worth of gas. He goes, when you go to pay the bill, pay $29 of that bill. That way it leaves $1 on the account. I said, well, why would I do that? and he told me that it shows the bank revolving credit or revolving debt, and apparently banks like revolving debt. So I went ahead and I did that, and the advantage of doing that is that it's paid off down to $1, and you're only charged interest on that $1, because the interest rate that you have, I believe, the way it was told to me, is broken down. Say if it's a 24% interest rate, then you break, that's for annually. So break that down into 12 months, you're charged 2% of the balance is interest. Well, since I pay it down to $1 every month, then I'm only charged interest on that $1. So it costs me 2 cents a month in interest. I never leave anything more than $1 on there. And over time of doing that, I got a letter in the mail, and it said, we're taking your credit card limit from $300 to $4,300. And I went, whoa, I don't need $4,300. But I left it there, and then from there, that allowed me to put more than just gas on the card, to where I started using that for only my monthly bills every month. Because I already set aside money for the electric bill, set aside money for the gas bill, set aside money for the grocery bill. So it's cash that I already had saved up. So I wasn't buying anything extra with the card. And all of that added up to about maybe half of my credit limit. And that was a good thing, because another thing that the guy, my buddy, told me, he said, never spend more than 2/3 of your limit. He goes, if you have a limit of $300, never spend more than $200 of that, because it shows the bank, as you're paying it off, it shows them that you're using the card, but you're not relying on the card. It shows them that you're responsible with your money, because you're paying it off every month. You've got that $1 for revolving credit or revolving debt, and then you're not going above a certain percentage, which means you're not relying on the card and using it for emergencies. So you plan ahead, and you're being smarter with your money. So over time, I went from having no credit up to an excellent credit score. And that's still all I use it for, is just regular bills for the house and groceries and whatnot, gas in the truck. And I make sure I keep tabs on how much I'm spending. That way I can know, I can make for dang sure I got the money to pay it all off, up to $1. And I pay my credit card bill a couple of days early, just in case, something happens, if the bank's closed, or, if that way I can't forget. I'll pay it a few days in advance. That way it's on them. If they don't pull it out or they don't post it at the right time, that's not my fault. I record everything. So if they say, okay, well, you paid your deal late, you paid your bill late, then I have all of that information recorded. I have it spread out on a, what do they call that, a spreadsheet, to where I have the date that I paid it, the time that I paid it, the amount, what account it came out of. Always record the confirmation number, and I record all of that. That way if they come back and say, okay, well, you missed this payment or you missed that payment, I can say, look, I paid it this day at this time out of this account, I paid this much, and here's the confirmation number. And then in their system, they can look that up. So that's how I went from having no credit to building it and going and going and going over time. It takes some time to get the process done. But I built it up to now I'm in the excellent range for credit scores. Also, one ways you can monitor it without having a credit check, a hard check, is to download the app. I use Credit Karma. because that'll update my score for me every week and let me know what my score is, whether it went up or went down. And then it tells you why. It shows you all the open accounts that you have, all of the closed accounts that you've had before, and it gives you suggestions on, do this, do that, and that could help. If you do this, it'll hurt you. And then with the credit card that I have, it also has an app that you can download on your phone, and it has a simulator on it to where every time you have a hard credit check, like if you're trying to apply for a loan, it's a hard credit check and it shows up on your credit score. And the more hard checks you have, the more it will affect your score. So before I go to see, let's see if I can, before I go for another hard check, loan qualification, let's see how it'll affect my score. And I'll go in there and I'll be able to type in the information, and then it'll tell me what my credit score would be after it's all done. So then that'll help me decide whether or not it's a good idea or not. So hopefully that'll help some people. Sorry, I can't say much about how to fix credit, because there's a lot more that goes into that, with bad marks on your record that stick around for certain amounts of times, and there's certain other processes that you can go through in companies that will take those bad marks off. And I really don't know much about that, because I started from no credit and I built it up, and luckily I haven't done anything yet to where I've needed to fix my credit. I'm just trying to maintain it up at a good level. So that'll come in handy for later on, for if you need a loan for a car, or when you're trying to get a loan for a house. They look at that stuff, and if you're in good standing, you'll be more likely to get the loan, because they'll be more willing to give it, and they'll be able to see that over time you've been responsible with your money and you've got some idea of what you're doing. So there's one way to do it. That's how I did it. Hopefully that will help somebody. Just be smart with your money. Don't go out and blow it. You've always got to save it, because it's not about right now. It's about building up for later on. You can either go out for dinner, go out to the bars, whatnot, hang out with your friends, get some impulse buys that'll have some fun with, or you can have money in savings. That's kind of the way I work it. So any extra money I have pretty much goes into savings for that unexpected bill. One of your kids gets sick and needs to go to the doctor. You blow a tire on your truck and you've got to replace the tire. There's some kind of unexpected, higher electric bill that you didn't plan for. There's always something that's unexpected that'll pop up. So make sure you put money to the side and save it for when that happens. That way when something does come along, which it will, it's just a matter of when. That way you have the money set to the side to where you can handle it, and it doesn't completely throw off your budget. Because if they did a study not too long ago, I heard about on the radio. They said most people my age, in the bracket that I'm in, said most people don't even have $100 in savings. And then there was a percentage of those that said an unexpected $10 expense would break the bank for them. So don't be in that crowd. Set yourself up for success later on. Give yourself that safety net to where if something happens, you'll say, I lose my job today. I've got enough built up to where I've got a few months of worth of bills and house payment and all saved up to where if I lose my job right now, I would be okay for a few months while I found something else. Not, I lost my job, I'm screwed, what am I going to do? I have no money. So you always got to plan for the future. Get your accounts, ready and all, and make sure they're in good standing. Be smart with your money. Know where it's going, and be able to control it. So I'm gonna get on back to work. Hopefully that'll help y'all. And yeah, we'll see you on the next one. Y'all be good.